Good afternoon, and thank you so much for being here. I am here with some of our great leaders right here in the village of Port Dickinson to make an announcement about some significant infrastructure upgrades that will most certainly help the village and most certainly residents here and beyond. I want to take a moment to lift up why these funds are important. We know in this community that access to clean and safe water is a top priority. And at the same time, we know our towns, our villages, our cities, those type of infrastructure upgrades cost significant amounts of money. And so when you have infrastructure that hasn't been updated in a very long time, but our need for these resources continue to grow, it is important as a state that we do all that we can to provide access to funding as well as policy to help our towns, our villages, and our municipalities. And the village of Port Dickinson is no different. And so I want to thank everyone here from the board leaders to, of course, Mayor Burke for your steadfast leadership on this important issue and so much more. And so on behalf of the New York State Senate, through my office, I am pleased to announce that we are investing $100,000 right here in the village of Port Dickinson as part of their water main replacement project. So, it's okay to clap. It's every fine. So, as I said, sometimes we can take for granted the importance of these kinds of projects and what they mean for residents in their daily lived experiences, but also, again, access to clean water is so important, and being able to provide financial support to upgrade these water infrastructure projects is very important. And so I don't want to take Mayor Burke's thunder, but I want to thank you, Mayor, for not only reaching out to my office, but also the work that you and the rest of the team here is doing to provide important resources to the residents here in the village. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mayor Kevin Burke to talk about more specifics related to the project and what these funds are going to help to address. Mayor Burke?
Thank you, Senator. First of all, I want to send our appreciation to Senator Webb and her staff for assisting us in getting this grant. And it's quite significant as it increases the volume of water we're going to have up there, because we have a major multi-million-dollar expansion on Phelps Street for a major industry, which requires a lot of water. But also the safety concern, the volume could be increased. So it's really it's a win-win every way for us. And also, I want to thank our village board for supporting this. And also, we're doing this on a self-help contract, so our village public works is running this contract as another way of saving money. So all in all, that's about all I really have to say. But I just want to thank Senator Webb so much for kind of steering that money towards us. Very helpful. It's good.
Thank you, Mayor. So, again, I want to thank everyone who's involved in this project, the staff here, the construction team, everyone. Again, sometimes we can think not as much, especially if you're not in an area where it's like, well, why would this be a big deal? And the answer is, it is, because we all need most certainly to have upgrades to our infrastructure, especially when it comes to water and so much more. And so with that, we will take any questions from the media about today's announcement, or have we answered them all, or you have a question?
One question.
Sure.
Mayor, you mentioned that the village employees of Department of Public Works will be handling it. So can you just elaborate on that, how that's saving money and how that helps the village?
Yeah, because it was a pretty cut and dry contract, or I should say project. And rather than going through all of the engineering, which we pretty much had that over the years, our public works, we've hired Vacri Defense Construction. We're paying them by truck, by employee, rather than going a massive contract. And it's probably the savings is going to be several $100,000. It's just many municipalities, the town of Dickinson has done it. Several municipalities, self-help, it's called, doing it yourself.
Other questions from media? Yes.
Do you know how old the water main infrastructure is currently?
We estimate that was put in probably about the 50s, maybe late 40s and 50s. I think it's only a 4-inch. That's like the last 4-inch water main in the village. It's our longest street. But it's also a secondary supply of water, because it comes in Phelps Street here, to supply the lower part of Port Dickinson in case the main gets interrupted. So it's the significance, it's huge.
Other questions? Great questions. Go ahead.
I would just say, Mayor, again, if you could just describe where the actual project will be taking, like the expansiveness of the project, where it'll actually be.
It's on Rochelle Road, right at the top
Yep.
of the hill, right Rochelle Road at the top of the hill. That's Beacon Street, ends at Rochelle, crosses over Hillcrest, crosses Crooked intersection, ends at Dickinson Avenue, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
I am.
That's where Roy is from. And it is the longest street in the village. So about 52 homes on it.
Last thing, Mayor, I promise. Last
That's
thing.
okay.
You mentioned the expansion on Phelps Street, industry coming over. So if you could just elaborate on that expansion.
Binghamton Precast and Supply, they just put a very large, 300 or 400 foot building across the street from their main manufacturing plant. The owner calls it the world headquarters now. And soon to open, you can see it on the left up here, which his production is increased. So by increasing the flow of water to Phelps Street, he'll have more volume of water. And anytime we've had to open a hydrant or flush it, they'd lose water on this hill. Now they won't. So it's just every avenue we look at, it's just really significant.
A timeline on the project?
Supposed to be wrapped up the end of September, and the blacktop's supposed to happen the last week of September.